Welcome back, everybody. We're back for another flight, and this time we've got two passengers, Xoaquin Flores, who you may know, and George McMillan, who you also may know. If you're a subscriber of The Working Brother, you should be well aware of who they are and what they do. And if you're not, well, look at the other videos on the channel. George, welcome. Xoaquin.
What's up? What's good? Can you hear me? I have a mic like this better. All right.
I think they can hear you.
All right, good. Yeah.
Hold on. Are you... Talk to me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
No, I can't. Not officially.
All right, you can't hear me.
Now I can hear you.
All right, we gotta do this.
Talk to me again.
All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly. George, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him.
You can hear me good?
Yeah, good.
All right, good, yeah.
Excellent. Because we got limited things and we're trying out this new setup. So everybody who's new here, hi, welcome. This is a comedy show. Nothing we say here has anything to do with reality. And we're going for a flight today, so that's going to be extra interesting. We're in Microsoft Flight Sim, and we're going to be flying to Tehran from Dubai. George? Xoaquin? Do you want to discuss what's going on in Iran? Oh wait, let me turn down the flyover first. I knew I was supposed to do that. There we go. George, can you hear us over the engine noise?
Yeah, you're gonna fly over Bandar Abbas, or you're gonna go straight to Tehran over Isfahan.
We're going to, if you look top right, I don't know how much of the map you can see. You see here, there's like a map in this corner. We're going to be flying to the Strait of Hormuz, and then we're taking a left and going over... Oh, I forgot the name of the city. What was the name of the city? Isfahan?
Isfahan.
Yeah, it'll be if you go directly from Dubai to Tehran, you go directly over Isfahan.
Mm.
Yeah, that's where we're going. Isfahan to the left, basically, or east, west, sorry, as normal people would say. And then we're going further north, and then we're gonna come into Tehran. And the flight prognosis is that it'll take about an hour.
Yeah, I've done several flights from Dubai to Baku.
Dubai to Baku?
Yeah, so you fly pretty much over Tehran, kinda. You fly a little bit west of it.
I don't know whether it's on your side or on my side, but I'm getting a little bit lag on your video. But it could be this terrain that we're flying by. Microsoft Flight Sim is known to like lag when you fly next to buildings. But we're flying here just for the clicks. This is going to be called Dubai to Tehran.
All right.
George, you think they're going to nuke Iran? Let's get this party started. Xoaquin, you want to chime in anytime? George, Xoaquin, anyone? No?
I mean, not at first. It looks like they're just going to use the conventional GBU 57s or something like that. Those bunker busters.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're, I think they're headed over to Fordow right now.
And you think it's possible that they're actually going to attempt to? Don't they need to be in Iranian airspace to drop those?
Oh yeah, but I thought they were already headed that direction.
No, I'm saying the actual airplane. Doesn't it have to be in the actual airspace in order to drop the bomb?
That was my understanding.
So how are they going to drop these bombs on this airspace, if you're catching my drift?
Yeah, from very high altitude.
And do you think that the S-300 and S-350 can't reach up there? Because from my understanding is they can take down satellites, so...
Oh, I don't know. You know, maybe they'll bring in S-400s or 500s for this occasion. I don't know. We'll see what happens. They've had a week to. They've had a week to prepare.
I think the export model of the 350, like, you know, 300 as a 350 upgrade, but still like export model. Like,
You're coming in on my mic, but you're not coming in on your mic.
All right,
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, yeah, here we go. Am I
You
better
need to-
now?
Yeah.
All right. Like I would think that any like upgraded S300 software is like S400.
Wait, yeah,
Export
you
model,
tailed
like
off.
I'm just talking about the export model that Iran, could use. I don't think satellite, but could definitely hit like a very high altitude bomber.
Yeah,
At about a 79 to 84% hit rate, I think. I mean, they claim 93 or 88, but I just automatically, make a conservative estimate.
yeah.
What are you looking up, George?
Oh, just to see what kind of max altitude that they have.
We are currently flying at 14,000 feet. We're still over Emirati airspace, approaching the Strait of Hormuz, which many people might be surprised to find out how tiny it is.
It's a very narrow strait, huh?
Yeah.
Kind of easy to close, would you say? In a sense, or
George, you wanted to bring that up. You're not interested in the nuking aspect of it as much as you are the other aspects, right?
Oh yeah, if they close down the Strait of Hormuz for any length of time, it stops the oil coming from Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. So you're cutting off a significant amount of oil flow, and most of it goes to a lot of it goes to around the Straits of Malacca to Philippines, Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan, and China. The reason China spent so much on building their overland logistical supply routes into Central Asia was so their stuff can't be interdicted at the Strait of Hormuz or Strait of Malacca. But just to
Can you hear me, George, at all, or no?
yeah, I can hear you. But
All right.
just as the major railroad, well, the Five Nations railroad system was completed all the way to Tehran last week, and they're just about to complete. They got one that goes through Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan into Tehran. They got another line that jumps across that spur from Dushanbe to Mazar-e Sharif in Afghanistan, goes down to Herat to Gurion, and then over towards Mashhad in Iran. That's for the Cash to Zahedan. I mean, Chabahar port to Cash is only about 100 kilometers left too. So it seems like it's odd that all of a sudden they have to strike the Iranian nuclear facilities like right now, just months before those other railroad projects are being completed. So that's not only the Chinese to Iran railroad projects, that's also the international north-south trade corridor. And I should add that we've been tracking this for years on your channel.
I don't know what
So
you're
the-
talking about, George.
So the timing of this, this nuclear threat is highly suspect because it's directly correlated to the completion of several major Chinese and Russian infrastructural projects.
You're a coincidence theorist. And,
Yes.
We're here with those. Hold on, I've got an echo of myself. I need to turn this off. if I do this here. Yes, there we go. So, as I was saying, here where we're flying currently is where the Chinese ships were a couple of days ago. So
Right.
the Chinese are definitely here protecting their maritime choke point interest that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And yet Trump is sending all those, what are they called, tankers? And everybody's
Well-
speculating that this is to nuke Iran.
Yeah.
You wanna
Well,
talk?
it's
Do I want to talk?
Yeah.
George. George,
yeah,
can you hear me?
yeah.
All right. So, so when you just looked up, like, and you saw that, like, an American very high altitude bomber can work around like 30 to 50 kilometers, maybe maximum up, but I'd say like 30 to 40. And then when you saw that the upgraded S350 has like a range of between 80 and 110 kilometers, and you could go up to about 140, 150 kilometers if you want to take an acceptable effective range around 65, 75%. So that in my opinion must like weigh into, you know, the calculus in some way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there will be losses. So how many like dozens of sorties to get the two bombs to both hit the same spot at the same time, which we know the situation is.
Yeah,
Right. We need
I
like two.
think
We need two bunker busters to hit the same exact spot within fewer than millimeters to infrastructurally like create the maybe centimeters, if we're generous, to create the effect, right, in physics of the double tap. To break through, you know, a bunker that's in excess of 80 to 90 kilometers deep, maybe 110 meters.
Yeah, it's going to take. It's going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to be as
Do you think
easy
they
as
would
they
take
think.
like 50% losses or 30% losses
Oh,
and
if
then give it the green light? Or
Like, do you
If
think
they
it would
start
be
to-
acceptable?
if they lose a handful of B2s doing this,
is it an if? Becomes like not an if. So how many would they lose out of 10, you think?
boy, I don't know. We talked about that a couple months ago when I was on. When those bomb bay doors open up, they got a 45-second window that they have to leave those things open for 45 seconds. You know, from what I understand, they're open for almost a full minute.
Right, but they also got to get over to the place where the S350s have a range, right? Like in order to drop the
Yeah.
bombs. Like the bombs are at the border of the country. I mean, the targets are not at the border of Iraq.
If I can just interject,
Right.
what
I'm
you're seeing
gonna.
on screen is the Strait of Hormuz. By the way, that's the Strait
Yeah,
of Hormuz. That's
I'm gonna-
It's over there.
I'm going on the assumption. I'm going on the assumption that those things stay pretty stealth up until the point that they open up their bomb bay doors, which may not be true.
A big assumption.
Because
yeah.
there's
But a good
because you
caveat.
have
Yeah, man. I saved this. Actually, there was a stealth that got shot down over here in Serbia, and I was able
Yeah, the
to
one-
get this piece of it right here. See, it's I thought I would like sell it to the Chinese for like, you know, $25,000 million per
It's
square
real.
centimeter.
Like, it's there,
It's
I
a
can
piece.
feel
It's a. He can touch it. It's a piece of the stealth that we shot down. Here, yeah.
yeah that so there's other kinds of signatures and other frequencies on the electromagnetic range that they can, because obviously the engines make, you know, produce heat, so that produces an IR effect. So we will see if
airspace officially.
yeah we'll see if there's other ways to detect those things other than conventional radar.
remember that funny time. I'll always remember that funny time that like Bolton or Pompeo or both tried to railroad Trump into bombing Iran after the drone incident.
Yeah.
Remember that thing? And then like in the public later, he gave some like explanation that the calculus that because there'd be too many American losses, like hundreds. I don't know what number he gave, or if he said the Iranians would take hundreds, but he used this number hundreds, and that I think he was saying to the American side, and that blah blah blah. You know, this was like a very big event at the time, so it was words to that effect. Very interesting, just to consider, you know, conversationally.
Oh yeah, just at the different American bases that are inside Iraq still.
Yeah, like I understand the number one leading cause of death already from like the last attacks was traumatic brain injury.
Oh, from the Al-Assad attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. All I know is that recently the U.S. moved a bunch of staff and a bunch of hardware, you can say, out of some of the reach of some of the fucking Iranian missiles. And the ones they did move down to Saudi, they kind of moved them on to Diego Garcia. What do you make of the are they spirits? The like super stealth ones? Is that what they're called? Spirits?
Yeah.
They're going to like on their way to Guam now. Do you think they're going from Hawaii to Guam and then onward to Diego Garcia and to bomb Iran, or do you think it's like a bluff?
Oh, I don't know. I kind of thought they would be going straight there. I don't have a globe with me. Hold on a second. Let me fire up the Google Earth.
Whoa! We forgot to trim the airplane and we're in space now.
Hey, you know what's weird, dude? Is like how the people like in the Mossad or in the Israeli design planning of this, like they thought that like strikes on Iran in the context of the genocide in Gaza would be like actually divide, you know, different malcontent groups in Iran like against the regime. Like who fucking came? That's like got to be the stupidest idea, you know. I mean, like people were telling them it's the funniest shit. It's like the Israelis walked right into a trap with that in some way, I would joke.
Yeah, they'll fly if they're flying out of Missouri. They'll fly over Western Europe and then head down to Iran if they're going straight there. So that's going to be what, a 12-hour flight. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure. So then if they did
this
that,
recording won't have your echo on it the whole time, and I'm hoping that I'm audible at least.
Oh, am I audible?
No, you will be, because you're like, I'm using only that microphone now. I turned this one off totally. I'm just monitoring on this ear.
Can you hear him?
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear. Yeah, I can hear just fine.
Then probably the recording should be fine. You'll be much louder on the recording, George, but that's life. Not much we can do. If you want to donate, you can find links in the description, all you people. Feel free to chip in for a coffee. Some of you do that often, others don't. If you pay attention to here, let me make this map bigger for everyone. If you pay attention to this map here, we are over here. We've been flying for, I'd say, about 15-20 minutes now. We started from way over here, and this is the Strait of Hormuz that we passed and we saw from above. And we're still flying, and this is the mountains of Iran that you can see. And we're going to be flying for quite a while, all the way up here. And then we're going to be taking another detour and flying over a lot more mountains before we get anywhere close to Tehran, which we're going to do a little flyby of, and then see how big of a city it is. But yeah, just to give people an idea of the size of Iran and how it's far from easy to get into, to say the least.
Yeah, if you fly out of Dubai on a commercial airliner, because I've probably flown over, I probably flown over Iran like, I don't know, well over a dozen times, different, going back and forth different directions. But if you fly to Dubai from up north, well, from the United States, you go over the Iran-Iraq border on the Iraq side. When you fly back north, you go up on the Iranian side. Okay, obviously, if you go to Baku, you fly directly over it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the same thing. You fly up on the Iranian side. You fly back on the Iraqi side of the border. So yeah, I don't know. I've done that. I want to say probably about a dozen and a half times. Also going back.
I was surprised when I was coming back from Russia that we actually took that path and not the, let's say, usual one, which is on the other side of the Iran-Iraq border. And that was a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah, most of Iran is a big country. I've flown over it. Some of those flights have been at night, and I always get the window seat so I can look out the window. And yeah, so much of Iran is just dark. There's no lights at all for like such big areas. Because there's really uninhabited desert.
Don't give me that Iranian propaganda. It's like North Korea. It's because they don't have electricity and they're poor and yeah.
Okay. You certainly see the oil.
That you're spewing. George, it's good to talk to you again. People have been, what's it called? Asking for your take on the apocalypse and the eschatological view of like Iran being on the same side as Russia, which is kind of, prophesized in ways.
Oh, yeah, I just look at it well, hold on a second. I mean, if you're talking about the Old Testament and stuff like that, the Khazarians and Ashkenazis are not descendants of Abraham. So the covenant was made to Abraham and his offspring. So for the different sects of that religion that are not of Hebrew origin, I don't know how that would extend to them. I know the Christian Zionists around here don't know the different sects of that persuasion. So they think it's all like one people, and like, no. There's all kinds of genetic tests that the Israelis are trying to squash, because then that means the true Hebrews are going to be the tribe of Benjamin, Judea, who were basically still there, the Sephardics. Then the other tribe, well, the tribe of Levi, they say went out to, I don't know, I forget the island. I think it's off of Libya or something like that. But then the other 7 tribes are going to be the Pashtun tribes in Afghanistan. So the Ashkenazis and Khazarians are not direct descendants of Abraham.
Any comment?
Everyone has their pet theory. I'm just being conversational, man. It sounds cool to hear, man. I'm just learning stuff,
Oh, there's a guy. Know. Oh, I'm quoting the studies from Israelis. Here, I'll bring it up. I posted them on LinkedIn a long time ago. I can repost them.
By the way, everyone, we're flying at like Mach 2. which is about twice as fast as any U.S. plane that would be coming in to bomb them would be, which means that it would take them twice as long to reach this first city that we're reaching, which unfortunately I can't tell you what it is, but the airport call sign is OISS. I can probably find that out. Let's see if I can do that while we're flying. I'm disappointed. Well, it is late here, but I'm disappointed that you two are not more chatty.
Well, we could be if we like talk directly, but
You should talk directly.
yeah.
You're
Well,
there.
hey George,
Yeah.
what do you think about this plan that we've seen so far? Like, what sort of reference to past plans that have been hatched in the past do you think this might, what we're seeing might be referred to in some way? Do you think, or more concretely, do you think that Israel attacking first was an optimal plan?
My last 6 or 7 videos on Energy Newsbeat with N Vandersteel and Emerald Robinson and a couple with Danny Capelcosm. Oh, the whole thing's got nothing to do with nukes. It's the Bank of England's going broke, and Europe can't afford their welfare states, and they need to take over those commodities in Iran and Central Asia and control the pipeline routes back to Europe before the AFD and FPO come to power in Germany and Austria. That's got almost nothing to do with nukes. It's all about the Western welfare states are about to go bankrupt.
All right.
So I mean, that's been my take on it. It hasn't changed, in the past couple of years. Alex Craners was talking about that on Capitalism, so that's why I went over there and I said, well, his ideas merged with my model, so I went over there to talk about it. So that's what I think the desperation is. I was at the trucker convoy in West Austin last January, and I just gave a 5-minute discussion about that's what I thought then was they needed Russian natural gas. Well, they need natural gas because they cut Russia off, and the whole idea was to cut Russia off but then supply it with Iran, but then Russia didn't crumble, and then Iran didn't crumble, and Afghanistan and Iraq didn't work out, and now they're now what are they going to now they need a quick and dirty solution. So guess what? Iran has nuclear weapons, whether they do or not, and they need to attack right now because otherwise the Iranians are going to get nukes on Trump's watch. And that's kind of how I think that they tricked him into it.
What did they trick him into? You're saying they tricked Netanyahu into something or Trump into something?
Oh, no, I'm saying that they tricked Trump into changing his anti-war stance by saying, Iran's gonna get nukes on your watch. The real reason is the West can't afford their welfare states. They're about to go broke. That's what Alex Craner and Tom Luongo and Martin Armstrong have been talking about that, and a few others. So that's what they were saying on the financial shows. It fits my models. So I went over there to give some discussions on the geoeconomic, geostrategic parts of it, because I think the whole rush of Israel attacking Iran is because of the city of London. Iran was created by the city of London, the Balfour agreements and the Rothschilds. So they've always been, kind of put there because they're the city of London's henchmen. And
wait, is that why the Shah is in London now?
I don't know. Is he in London? Oh no, he's in. I thought he was in D.C. Well, he lives north of D.C.
I didn't know that. I saw a
primary
video of
weapon.
him from London. If I'm not
Oh, they
mistaken.
went. His daughter married Bradley Sherman, a New York Jewish investment banker.
Mhm.
Oh, and he's a tech guy. So, yeah, it just so happens that they're getting married just before they're about to install him as he's going to be the democratically installed leader of Iran. So that's going to be her.
You said that.
That's
You
gonna be
said
her
that
wo-
when we were chatting the other day.
Yeah.
Democratically installed leader. This is a good
Yeah.
term.
Well, they're all over the place now. I mean, they're all up and down the. Well, they tried to have the color revolutions in Serbia, so you guys could have a democratically installed leader. It failed in Georgia, but they were able to pull off the democratically installed leader in Romania and in Moldova, by the way. So they're pretty good at having democratically installed leaders. So now they're going to have a democratically installed family dynasty put back in place in Iran.
By
I
the way,
think
it was
Erdogan-
Shiraz that we were flying over earlier. Have you been to
Yeah.
Shiraz?
No, I can't stop in Iran. I don't think it would be healthy for me.
I'm looking forward to visiting Iran.
Yeah, you
leave a
can, I
comment.
can't.
Everybody who's watched this far, leave a comment if you think
Yeah.
Working Brothers should go visit Iran.
Oh, they'll let me in. They'll let me in. I mean, they won't let me leave, but they'll let me in.
Hawkin,
What?
do you think they're gonna bomb Iran?
They might, but
Who's
Uh,
they? First of all,
anybody.
yeah, Pakistan can bomb them.
Maybe not them, but
Chinese
anybody,
could, but,
anybody,
like, the chances are small.
anybody NATO could try or could help Israel.
What are the most likely ones that you're considering? Considering we've already seen Germany in the air refueling Israel, which was like surprising to me, but then not that surprising.
Right.
And then who else did we see? We saw the French,
We saw the British, right?
the British. The
We
British were
saw
there
that,
with
right?
ISR,
Yeah.
and the French were there with fuel tankers as well.
Right. Right.
But there were no Americans.
Right. That's correct.
And even Netanyahu was like, "Hey, no, that was that article. I can't remember who it was from, but there was an article that was like, it's the first time that Israel is asking for America's help, and America is not helping." Basically.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
that was so ridiculous.
It's the first time, George.
Yeah.
I'm checking our flight and our itinerary. We're passing by Shahrekord. International airport.
Basically the IP that I've the intellectual property that I've put around early on.
Mhm.
The way I approach the conflict is like this. There's couple hundred different policy papers from different think tanks that talk about different ways of attacking Iran.
Mhm.
And probably the most obvious one that this one refers to would be the 2003 Project Daniel, just off the top of my head, really. And but I believe that's correct. And Project Daniel is probably the only one which unilaterally has Israel attacking first preemptively, as we saw.
Okay.
So I found that very, very interesting because in terms of the literature on the subject, and the question at hand, it's somewhat earlier on in the bibliogenesis of the subject. Like you don't really have until you get like something like 1996 documents from PNAC that you're talking about this sudden, nuclear Iran problem, right? So like when you look at, relevant policy documents, going back the last 5 years or 10 years, you're going to expect there to be different things that they're dealing with because of the relevance of the ideas like relate to the material conditions, on the ground. And like 2003 was very different, like when Project Daniel dropped. And so I other than that, like every other plan that's like far more realistic and not, as crazy as Project Daniel, which was, never pursued. You have this like recognition that this is not going to fly to accomplish the goals of establishing the coalition necessary to like remove the regime, right? Regime change. So like taking out their nuclear like doesn't take out the regime, and assassinating the Ayatollah doesn't like take out the regime. You're talking about a very different campaign of a prolonged, and you're creating a failed state. You're not going to have a fucking Shah. You're going to have fucking all kinds of jihadis and motherfuckers running around everywhere. So let's first of all just like kind of like lay out like that part of the reality that like that's what you're going to fucking have. You're not going to have the fucking Shah. You're not going to have right. He did say that, right? Yeah, that is a correct policy analysis, right? So anyway, like what I look at what happened is that like because Project Daniel is like so dependent upon a fundamentally different reality than existed, like we're like almost 25 years, we're like 22, 23 years beyond fucking Project Daniel right now. Understand? Like Iran has a population like close to 95 million fucking people. Like they're very complex economy index and so much scientific, and other, right, that they've just military. So, it's like, and the world has a different balance. Like this was, what we have to understand is that like this kind of thing, like 2003 Project Daniel, right? Like this comes, just like a handful of years after PNAC documents like strengthening America's defenses and things like this. You see what I mean? So, like, when you look at the bibliogenesis of the subject of toppling Iran, like, the subject of debate, like, even within the plans to attack Iran, has, like, fundamentally moved beyond attacking Iran first unilaterally, right? Like, every other plan that comes later, right? Like, whether it's Pathway to Persia, 2009, or anything else that because even that's outdated as fuck. Like, when you think about contemporary conditions of war and strategy and the alliance, the economics, BRICS didn't exist like when Project Daniel, like it's just like who's going to rebuild fucking Iran, who's going to rebuild Israel, who has the advantage in the worst case scenario. So like it's so obvious to me that like one of the primary parts of my analysis and what I shared with Tom Luongo on his show, and he thought it was a good idea, is that the Chinese are building rail, you understand, directly into Iran. And number one, we can even say, let's say the Iranian regime fails. Can we name a country on motherfucking planet Earth that there was regime change, but then they also don't have relations with China, that they're heavily dependent on imports from China? Like, we can't name one, right? So, like, China's a player either way. But anyway, we have to, like, first put the big leap and point out that, like, serious bombing on Iran and whatever the hit rate and success rate and the politics of losing assets involved, whatever aside, right? You're not going to overthrow the regime. You understand? So anyway, you're not going to have an end to that project. In fact, who do you think is going to be rebuilding Iran? The fucking Chinese and the Russians, right? And so like that to me is like is one part of the metric. So if we can tie all these things together and understand where this is leading, is that like it's highly unlikely that any plan would involve Israel attacking first unilaterally. And that's because all of the plans that have been laid involving anything, right, always involve, like, number one, provoking Iran to attack first through a false flag or something like this, or, you know, doing something which isn't spinnable in the media as a first attack on Iran, maybe an underground nuclear explosion or something, like from a suitcase bombs in one of their deep underground research labs, like something like very cataclysmic like this, that, you know, Iran has to respond and hits Israel in response to that. But like the media and the people perceive it that like Iran struck Israel, but that's not the timeline that we're fucking living on. Like what happened was that like Israel struck Iran first. The Japanese have denounced it. The EU has denounced it. Trump has refused to commit forces yet, and it would not, you know, he could take losses and he could make, you know, some people in Tel Aviv happy and other places that George was talking about, but it wouldn't ever accomplish the aim of regime change. Like that's not even in the ballpark of what the, you know, like you might have Netanyahu talking about regime change, but like nowhere in the context of talking about bombing Iran is any fucking talking about regime change happening above like the chatter level of like, you know, neocon policy wonks like around the, you know, Beltway cesspool. But in terms of like the fucking actual Trump administration, like that's not the rubric. And we're not doing Project Daniel for all the political reasons. And then you look at the fucking polls, you've got like 65, 69% of people in the US, Democrat or Republican, against attacking Iran. So like Project Daniel was based upon Democrat, Republican, you know, Democrats soft support an attack, but like keep their kind of left-wing anti-war base in line. But Republicans are all stupid fucking Christo-Zionists and fucking supporting George Bush and fucking neocons. And that was the political reality that fucking existed, what don't motherfucking exist anymore. So you know, so to me, the biggest fucking sign about what's fucking happening, George, is the dog that didn't bark, right? Iran was not, Israel was denied a false flag by Western intelligence agencies. They were denied a false flag to kick this fucking thing off, and they decided to do it alone. So that's the only thing like similar to Project Daniel is doing it alone, right? But in terms of viability and wildest fucking dreams, that's not what Israel needed to have happen. They needed to attack, and the minute that Tel Aviv was hit the first night was the red line, and the Western alliance fucking takes off. Right now, Netanyahu's alliance is falling apart. You've got madness happening in Israel politically right now, not just the ongoing crisis, but now it's like we're being hit by Iran. You've had billions and billions and billions of dollars of damage done to Israel already.
You know, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he's saying Netanyahu's corrupt, right? And he's famous for like embezzlement and stuff like that.
Let me get a cigarette.
Yeah. Here, help yourself. And we all know how Trump feels about embezzlement, and he's cutting Zelensky off. So, what do you think he's gonna do with Bibi? You know?
Oh, I just, you know, I don't know how that guy sleeps at night, because the big, huge uprising between the Azeris and the Kurds and the Baluch never happened, or it hasn't happened yet. The you know, Turkish TV is openly talking about how Turkey needs to move into Iran in case it becomes destabilized, you know, for humanitarian reasons, of course. So, but I really like your point. All the other scenarios, it was going to try to, you know, they were going to look for a pretext to attack Iran, and the pretext didn't happen.
At that moment in time, George, I began to, once I understood that was the dog that didn't bark, you know, once I heard that non-barking dog, I was like, wait a minute, like this is already, you know, this is basic art of war. Like you go into the conflict like knowing that you're going to win, right? Like Netanyahu has not made a declaration because he would need to. You know, he is in such a shit. He would be like, the Americans are definitely going to, you know, do this. He's like, there's journalism in Israel all about like you can read, you know, from the left or the right. I was looking at Haaretz, and they're like, this was you know, a huge blunder. The rebuilding costs are incalculable. George, let me ask you this: like, think about what countries Israel is going to be dependent on for rebuilding Tel Aviv and Haifa and other places, right? This is like $50-100 billion of damage so far, and by this thing is through 200, who knows, billion. So this is like the money to Ukraine levels and shit, right? So then it's like,
Right. Oh, yeah,
right?
way more.
Yeah, but then it's like, it's not just the money, because the money can only buy you so much, because it's like, it's actually the same problem with missiles, it's the same problem with like building material, right? Like the demand all at once for all this building material is going to drive that price up, and the countries that control the manufacturing and production of building materials are going to be dictating the terms politically to Israel about the rebuilding and recognizing to end the occupation of here, there, whatever the language is, right? But there's going to be all this political pressure about Israel's foreign policy, their disclosure on their nuclear, subject that to inspections. Like there's going to be not regime change in Israel in the sense of like the Mogen David doesn't fly and it's not Israel, but you know what I'm saying? Like we're talking about reimagining regime change where you have like significant policy changes on their core state policies within the rubric of the existing state, and all that, you know, all that pressure emerges as a consequence of Israel demilitarizing itself right now in Iran, right? So as Israel is demilitarizing itself in Iran, right, like think about their threat projection level of potential versus Egypt or, you know, anyone else in the area that, you know, when you talk about now having a coalition of countries that's going to be involved in rebuilding Gaza, Israel's not going to have that advantage to be like start making one of them the villain and try to sabotage the rebuilding of Gaza, right? If they're all basically spent out on rebuilding their own destroyed country and having spent all their best missiles on Iran, hitting Iran, and Iran's still there.
This is your captain speaking. I just want to update everyone that we crashed in the first flight and that we're now spawned above Tehran. And in case you guys are wondering, this whole huge city below us is Tehran, which Trump wanted to evacuate. Oh, sorry. I just had to give you guys an update.
Yeah.
And we're already like, 47 minutes in? So this is going to take another 10-15 minutes maybe, and then I'll bring this plane down and you guys can wrap up the story.
Oh, yeah, flyover Disney ski resort. I want to see what that looks like.
What'd you say?
Fly over the Disney ski. I was saying fly over the Disney ski resort, because I'm looking, because you know that, okay, the National Reconnaissance Organization, that's the intel agency that's responsible for the satellite imagery.
With the octopus logo.
Say again?
With the octopus logo.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I don't know what their logo is, to tell you the truth. Yeah, that and the National Geospatial Agency. So Trump uses that. Trump uses the $1 satellites to look for his real estate development searches. So I was kind of figuring, we'll use the poor man's version of that here to figure out where he's going to build his next resorts on the Caspian Sea, and then you got some ski resorts you can have in the mountains up there, and then he can have he can build another Dubai, but on the Iranian side. So they're fielding investments from that. That's why Woodcock's over there.
Yeah, realistically, it's called a Ponzi scheme. It's just like the fucking rebuilding. It's a scam. It's good to get in on if you take the money, not if you give the money, because you're never going to give it back, because they're never going to be able to do it. Just like all of the rebuild, like the Lugano format for the conference that then continued in London on the rebuilding of Ukraine and the pledges by country and by corporations within those countries to rebuild each one, you know what I mean? That's Ponzi. That's basic. That's basic MLM. So it's wonder who's gonna get caught holding the fucking bag there, So
the taxpayers pay for the military costs, but the billionaires make the money. They privatize the profits and they socialize the losses.
Well, yeah, but they're not going to get that investment. Is the point? Like the people that took the fucking took in the investments and shit and organized them are going to keep the money, but all the investors are going to be out of their money.
Right.
You know, because the rebuilding, they're not. Why would they?
Hey.
Why would these people like be in on the rebuilding of Iran when Iran's regime is not overthrown? You
Yeah,
understand?
they should have
Like,
hired.
that's going to be China. That's going to be China and Russia. Russia's building 8 nuclear plants there. They already have basically rebuilt on the same premises with an existing Iranian one there. The Israelis have already agreed not to hit the Russian reactor there. You see what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Israel already
I know-
Israel was already like, do I think that they might strike alone or do something crazy or assassinations or false flags? Like, that's like most definitely like all present threat and many aversions, and we'll see about future aversions, but these are active operations. I'm not saying they're going to try. They're trying and haven't opportunized it yet. You understand? So, but on the flip side of that, no one has regime change like as a concept in this. So you're always going to have the Chinese and the Russians and BRICS rebuilding Iran much more quickly at a much lower cost than anyone's going to rebuild Israel. But here's the catch: is that like when you think about Israel's dependence on foreign countries for their import trade, right? Like their number one partner is China. You understand? It's like 15 billion a year imports, right? And only if you take all the countries of the EU together and put them together, you get like another 15 billion. And then the US is third and not super close. It's less than 12, maybe 9 or 7. So like and you understand how much stuff in Europe that's made is like also value added and relies upon, you know, components from China or Turkey or somewhere like that, right? In Europe. So, I mean, you think about Israel's long-term supply line issues and where they're cut out from the Belt and Road Initiative. Like, they need stuff to go through to all the way through to the Red Sea. And, you know, you want to fucking take out an insurance binder today for anything going through to where the Houthis are firing upon every 4th or 10th day? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so like when I take all these pressures together and stuff, it's like very clear that like Israel failed to achieve the support that they required before the thing even started. So that means that Trump was a no from the start. Now, can they try to pull things in that direction? Like, well, that's happening now. But we're now like whatever 170 fucking hours in the conflict, and they haven't done much in that direction. So are the chances increasing or decreasing at that point? I mean, these are the questions that I'm asking, like just to the universe and figuring out what I think might happen next.
Oh, I was told that B2s are in the air. So however good that source of information is, I don't know. I mean, it's not like it's not like I'm gonna drive.
George, if you and I run into some ruly person in a bar, and I have a knife on me, and he does not have a knife on him, or does have a knife on him, doesn't really matter. Just because I'm pulling my knife out of my pocket or out of my jacket doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to use it. It just means that I'm serious about threatening you seriously.
Right. It's a posture.
It's, what's it called? Peace through strength or something? It's like, look at me, I'm a big bodybuilder. You don't want to, like, mess with me. You know?
Okay.
But
Well, okay.
you
I
can
mean,
mess with
you know,
me if you want.
they could just be flying the B-52s around. I'm sure the pilots, you know, do their practice flights to keep their hours in anyway. I mean,
What are they going to hit?
They may not hit anything. They might just be getting their flight hours in for the month, so they can
Right.
collect their
Yeah.
paycheck.
Exactly. We don't know.
Yeah, they could just keep maintaining their qualifications.
Yeah. I mean, shit moves around all the time. The funny thing is, we don't really tend to look at it, like start focusing on flight tracker channels of different types until there's like things are brewing, and then we're not keeping in mind like the average and the norms of like shit moving around.
Yeah, I mean they fly them around to different bases all the time anyway, just because they have to get their flight hours in. And the B-2s can only land at certain airports because they're ultra top secret.
I
But
am
yet
going to
they-
call this
The pilots
flight.
need to get so many hours in a flight's, flight time in a month to keep their ratings up. So yeah, stuff does move around all the time.
Just like we were. And hopefully they'll be better at flying than I was, because I crashed this
Yeah.
one. But I had to